And we're back. Hope everyone enjoyed their break.
Hope you guys have some pizza for us.
I'll take pizza lovers.
Oh, that was the thing. We were actually eating pizza during the finale.
I did say that, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What kind of pizza did you guys eat?
Pepperoni, just plain pepperoni.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's from a very popular, good pizza place in our town. It's not like those generic Papa John's Domino's. It's actually good pizza.
Yeah, they come in lots of slices, and we bought more than we thought because we didn't know that particular portion was going to be a big-ass box of pizza plus 2 smaller boxes with more slices in them.
You knew it. You wanted it. You
I
asked for it.
I know, but wow. We were stuffed by the time the season finale was over.
Sounds good. I had corn fritters during the finale.
Well, just don't give them to Michelangelo. He'll make corn fritters pizza somehow out of it.
No, he'll make pizza fritters. Which might be interesting to try, actually.
Jeez.
I mean, it's just pancake mix with corn in it, and served with sour cream and cheese, so,
Mikey would do it. I don't think the others would eat it, but Mikey would do it.
Those old 80s cartoons don't eat anything.
Yeah, I forgot what episode it was. You might remember, because I think you know most of them by heart, by title, and by number, but there was one episode where Leo was the one that made dinner, and he made ramen or something.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if maybe they have alternate times when they cook, because I know the only person we've really seen cooking was Michelangelo for the most part, but occasionally they would hint that the others cook as well, such as the last episode of the OT series where Raphael jokingly says, now the only thing we have to worry about is Donatello's cooking.
Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, for the most part, it always does look like Mikey's cooking. And it is good, though, because since I guess the others won't make pizza stuff, it does show that their diet revolves a bit, and it's not just pizza or pizza-related things all the time. It is funny. I still find it so weird they were eating earthworms and algae in the beginning, and obviously they're never going to go back to that. And
we know Mikey was cooking in that episode, so I guess that's the only thing that Mikey may count as edible.
Ew.
That counts as cooking?
Oh, God. Oh, goodness. Well, guys, now we're going to start to discuss actual episodes. You can name them off. Venka.
Episode 3.
Yes. First episode we are talking about is Turtle Temper, in which Raph meets a vulgar man named Vic, who gets transformed into the villain Spider Bites.
Oh, well, if I remember correctly, it started out... Oh, no, they weren't fighting it. It started out with them staking out, the Krang... where they were going to attack or something.
Well, I haven't even watched this for a long time.
Which is a complaint right off the bat, because, April's nowhere to be found in the episode, and they just randomly mention, oh, April knows the Krang's going to attack there, and we're like, she knows this how? What?
Apparently, the first few, or the first several episodes were, in random order, so this episode feels like it should have been further into the series rather than the third episode.
Yes, because, later episodes we do see that she's on the computer all the time looking around for information and suspicious junk or whatever that might involve the Krang. But here, just out of nowhere, it's like, April knows she would attack there, and we're like, what?
Maybe whenever she was trapped, she heard some plans.
But still, so random. And then Vic appears because,
they knocked over his satellite dish.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. Damn you, frog.
And that's the thing. I really liked his dialogue. And I've heard so many complaints from so many people that it was the worst episode ever, the most filler episode ever. Spider Bites is the worst, most boring, whatever. I just like the dialogue. I just like the whole, which one of you ham shanks broke my TV antenna and everything. And then Raphael whipped out the side, supposed to scare him. Oh, I didn't know you had salad tongs. He's like, salad tongs, why are you? It was just so funny.
Froggies.
All the things he was saying. I just like this dialogue. Even the part when he's filming him, he's like, whoa, it's some kind of kung fu frogs. I just like the dialogue with that guy.
We're not kung fu frogs, we're ninja turtles. The most epic line ever in an episode.
And for those who are not in the know, Vic is actually played by Louis Black, as in the comedian.
Yeah, that's why he's got good dialogue.
Yeah.
I know who that is.
But anyway, okay, so Raph and him argue so loudly that somehow the Krang overhear it, and, they start zapping and attacking and stuff, and as the turtles fight, he catches them on phone, which is, of course, bad, because that's,
Them getting caught by the Krang because they're so loud happens frequently in this episode, because, I don't know, they're too loud.
Yeah,
but they always, like, standing right there, and, like, they hear him, and they're
yes,
always, like, right there, like, right on the corner.
It's like, that's like the Krang neighborhood, yo. Like, you can't, it's like, every time I run into Vic, they argue, and the Krang just happen to be assaulting the place, like, right next door. It's like, that's the Krang hood, yo.
Well, the first time, obviously, they were looking for them, and the second time, I think that the main issue they were trying to do was try to get that phone back. And that's whenever the Krang were just randomly there. I don't know how many times they did that, 2 or 3 times, that they get caught by the Krang because of the loudmouth Raph.
Okay. Okay, so we try to remember. You might remember more better than I do, Venka. Ninja Turtles fight the Krang, they win, and
I have, like,
they
a
have
lot
to.
of notes on here.
Okay, what did the notes say?
After the whole thing, whenever they were caught on film, them filming, Raph talks to Splinter about it, and like Splinter finds out that they're recorded, caught, and they're talking to him, and then Splinter tells them to go get it, the film, I think.
So what did you think of the discipline scene where he was having the other 3 turtles initially shoot arrows at Raph and then have him do it over again by insulting him?
What I said is, like, even before that happens, Raph sounded like a little child, like, about, like, all the he was, like, telling mean names at me, like, he was, like, telling his, Splinter, like, he was, like, a little child, that he was calling me mean names, like a little kid.
And he's like, oh, I didn't know he was saying mean things. By all means, you had no choice but to jeopardize the mission.
But I did like the arrow scene where they got to get back at Raph for all the rude things he has done to them. I just thought that was funny how they got to insult him.
What I found interesting is Donnie needs to take a moment to find something to even say to Raph, because he was the one who was like most excited about being able to get back at Raph.
And knowing that he won't get hurt.
Yeah, and even then, it's like what he has to say is not that insulting. So it makes you wonder if, despite all the abuse, he has like really no problems with Raph.
I just like the part where Leo and them were really like, I guess they really went into his character about like, oh, you complain all the time how no one understands me, and Raph's like, no, you don't understand me, and all that, and
yeah. Which is why he rants to Spike, because Spike doesn't talk and therefore can't judge.
But it was an interesting way. That's why I like the cartoon. It brings a lot of things that we've seen before, but they play it out in different ways.
Because we've always seen Raph as a hothead in various incarnations, whereas, like, in the OT series, he wasn't quite as hot-tempered, but in, like, the comic books and other incarnations, he was definitely had it out for Leo.
Yes, especially. That's one thing I like about this version. It didn't go into that too much.
It seems like it was mostly Leo and Raph calling the shots. The other two, the younger two, were like just sitting there and watching the entire time.
That's right.
When Donnie was talking about flash memory, I have this feeling like he had a solution to the problem, and Raph, of course, was not letting him talk, because when Donnie goes into lecture mode, he sounds like a walking Wikipedia page.
And that's another thing that was kind of weird when we get it, because, we've been around, but not them. How would they not know that there isn't a tape in the phone? Where would the tape even fit in the phone? That's the thing I know what they were trying to do with the joke, but it just doesn't work that well, because the Turtles are too young to, remember when things had tape or videotape or whatever. The stuff
How would they even know what a tape is anyway?
I know. And then, I know they made Don seem kind of nerdy with the whole, actually, it's a flash drive, but it's that stuff anyone would know. It's not necessarily...
Yeah, but odds are Vic was not computer literate, or otherwise he would have uploaded the video to YouTube already.
No, yeah, that's true. But on the other Turtle side, it kept saying stuff like, we'll shake it till the tape pops out, or we gotta get that tape, and it's they should know better, Like I said.
Yeah, like they should say we need to get that phone so we could delete it.
Something like that, exactly. And it's like, I know they're trying to make Don look all tech savvy, but it's common knowledge. It's not something that only...
Well, they've been in the sewers for how long?
I know, but that whole part, I mean, I know it makes sense and it is funny, but it doesn't make sense at the same time because, guys, you should know how these phones work by now.
Yeah, so they go up and they go talk to Vic, and which Raph has a hard time doing. Like, he even yells, "Oh, give us that phone or I won't kick your hairy butt to Jersey."
Yeah, and then of course, like Paige said, the Krang just happened to be there and they start shooting again.
Yes, and during the fight, Vic gets knocked into the van, and Raph goes in and tries to get him out, and as well as get the phone back.
Vic tries to sell the video on the Krang.
I like that. So you guys triplets or what?
Yeah.
Oh, and I like the part, of course, when Raph came... Well, the Turtles were basically getting beat up because Raph wasn't there to help them during the fight. So I really like the line. Like, you left us in the middle of the fight to yell at some guy!
Yeah. I remember Dawn's in one of her reviews, she said that Leo was channeling Raph at some points during that whole situation. Like when Donnie was starting up with the, "Oh, it's not a video, it's flash memory," and Leo just turns to him and says, "Not now, Donnie."
Yeah. Then, of course, the biggest shocker is, I guess, well, at least when you compare him to past versions, is when the Turtles decide that Raphael's just causing too much trouble, Leo sends him home. And even though, of course, Raph is pissed, he actually does go home. And because, I don't know, I mean, the Raphael from the Mirage comics or 2003, he would have just said, like, the hell with this, and he would have, like, run off after the Krang by himself anyway or something. So that's a little different in character here. He actually did go home. He got mad, blah, 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 but he actually obeyed and went home. That's interesting.
Yeah, and has his rant to Spike, which I found very well done, like where he says, "Oh, chew on your leaf if you..."
I was just about to mention that. If you don't want to hear a story.
Yeah.
Or you agree with me or something like that. Chew, bite the leaf if you want to hear a story. Munch. Numb.
I really like the heart-to-heart that he has with Splinter, where Splinter says, "You and me are not all that different," because when I initially was beginning this whole shit with the Shredder, he first started to insult me, and I felt his words could not go unaddressed. And we really get this impression that Tang Shen had ceased to be a person between them and was more like a possession, like who had the right to possess her.
Yeah, I like that whole speech, though. I mean, on one side, it was a little repetitive, I guess, because the flashback was a little too similar to the one we had in the opening, but I still like the Splinter speech at the end.
But the one in the opening, he said that it was the final battle he had with the Shredder, and this one is like saying this initially started as it. So the whole problem with Shredder began because I addressed what he was telling me, or what he was saying to me, and I chose to make his words into weapons.
Although, on the other side, I do think Shredder's douchey enough that, I mean, he would have kept poking at Splinter eventually anyway. I don't think... Yeah. I mean, yes, I do know that is the lesson learned of that time. Had Splinter just let shit slip and whatever. But it still looked like Shredder would have kept coming back and trying to get Tang Shen and trying to bother Splinter the next day anyway, But I do understand his lesson, but I don't think ignoring him that one day would have changed much. Shredder would still been a jerk the next day.
Or the next month and next year and...
etc.
Yeah. Because the whole issue is like who initially had right to Tang Shen to begin with when it was her choice.
Yes. And there was actually an interesting conversation the other day in the Technodrome forum, kind of sort of related to that, because if you remember, in the Mirage comics, it was a little more, I guess, more gray, because in this version, Shredder had a brother named Oroku Nagi that was in love with Tang Shen, and I guess I forgot, maybe he smacked her around or whatever, and Yoshi got so mad that he killed him. And then Saki found out, and then like the Foot, I guess, took him in. He became the Shredder. He became super whatever. He went to get revenge. He killed Yoshi. And then, of course, starts the whole thing with Splinter training the Turtles. But it is kind of interesting how it kind of, like how Yoshi's not exactly all that innocent. He did kind of start everything off by killing Shredder's brother in the first place. And even though Shredder's evil, his main motive was basically to get revenge over his brother's death. So that is interesting how it's not like that black and white. It's not just, oh, Shredder was a bad guy, he's a douche. No, it was more like, well, he's a bad guy, but he was getting revenge for his brother, technically.
It's kind of like the tale of the 47 Ronin, which will be coming as a movie later this year, plug. It's a story of loyalty and vengeance.
So back to the episode, let me try to remember. Okay, so after the lesson, with Raph and Splinter, the turtles actually, like, they find Krang's base because, like, the truck was leaking oil or something, so that's how they, like, followed the lead and everything, and they found the base, and they fight the Krang and everything, and during the whole, I like that part too, they were trying to rescue Vic, and he's tied up in a chair. It's like, he still doesn't get the clue. He's tied up to a chair, and he's still like, okay, I'll drop it to 1,000 or something. Like, you can even keep the phone. It's like, dude, they got you tied up to a chair. They don't care,
Yeah, they'll kill you once they have the phone or once they decide to leave with the phone.
Oh, that other part about that, oh yes, Krang is what they consider to be handsome in this form. And oh yes, this is also very good shot of Krang.
Yes, Krang has to show this to Krang.
I know. I like the little moments when they're kind of
talking about themselves. Like, Krang has lost 10 pounds or something like that in that one episode. And this episode, like, we are handsome.
We have new low-carb diet.
And then in the finale, they said, like, this is going to leave a mark.
Yeah.
This is what is going to be known as a mark, yes.
So, I like that scene too. They like, I guess they throw a rope or something to pull the chair towards them, and Vic is still like, get out of here, or whatever, and it's like, we're trying to save you. I don't care, I'm not going anywhere without my phone. And then everyone, like, listens and stuff, and they start shooting, and Neil's like, why are we saving this guy again?
Yeah, and during the firefight, Vic tries to get his phone, and there's a spider on it, and at that moment he mutates into the villain known as Spider Bites, and I thought it was weird that his phone didn't mutate with him.
Yeah, because the way this stupid show works now, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Well, we got mutant ice cream cats. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a mutant spider phone thing.
At least it's an animal, not an inanimate object that does...
There is a cockroach that mutates with a camera later on in the series, so...
That's, like, fusing, though. I would still say it's, like, touching. It's... Like I don't know. Unless the spider becomes like an actual computerized spider, then yeah. It's
that would have been epic.
A computerized spider, but I can just I don't know.
But what do you think
shut up now.
What do you think of Vic basically looking like a giant Pokemon or something?
A Pokemon reject, you mean? Yeah.
Yes, because that was a very weird-looking mutant spider. It doesn't really look like a spider when you look at still shots of it. It looks like an oddish or something.
And my opinion about the Spider Bites is, how would he know how to use his powers when he first got mutated? Like, geez, it probably took everybody else days to even just understand how to fight or to even move with their new bodies. Like him, he could just spit out acid, just like he'd known it for years.
Or Snakeweed kind of understood what to do with his powers, and then he only realized that he could regenerate.
No.
Well, yeah, that was the one thing. But yeah, Spider Bites was able to flip around and jump around all over
After,
the turtles.
one of those, he's like a fat, lazy man, probably, and he'd never know, do very much, and now he's, hopping around, knowing what to do, and,
he's not all that worried about the fact that he was transformed into a spider. I mean, yeah,
well, he did. Huh? Sorry.
He did initially blame the turtles for being the cause of his mutation, and he even said, I look hideous, even though he looks a lot better as a mutant spider than he did as a man.
Well, I like the part where I forgot who broke the phone. He's like, my phone! It's like, dude, you're a giant spider. You shouldn't care anymore.
Did we ever see him holding the phone when it was destroyed? I mean, I don't think we did.
Who?
Well, I mean, when he's initially chasing them, after he turns into Spider Bites, he's not holding his phone.
I don't think so. I just remember it was somewhere on the floor and someone, I guess, stepped on it or broke it somehow, but I just remember him dude, you're a giant spider, you shouldn't care anymore. You got bigger problems in your phone right now.
Yeah, Raph steps on it.
Oh, that's what happened. And speaking of which, of course, this is when Raph finally shows up, and that's when the lesson comes into play, because he's, Spider Bite starts throwing out the insults and everything, but Raph, takes a deep breath, and then it wash over and actually wins the fight instead of like losing due to being distracted. Oh yeah, 'cause that's the part we forgot to mention for people that didn't see the episode. The whole arrow thing was like the first time he shot the arrows, he dodged them all with no problem. Once he started insulting him, he was so busy getting pissed and like shouting back that he got hit by all the arrows.
Yeah, and the lesson was that he needed to learn Maniku Seishi, because that's the practice of letting the facing insult and not reacting.
Exactly, because right now I do think with how fast and how dangerous with the acid spit and everything, Spider Bites would have probably been beating Raph if Raph was too busy getting like offended and everything by the insults.
Yeah, which is common with Raph's character, and we see at the end like he hasn't completely learned his lesson, because the first thing he does when Mikey insults him is he jumps on him and makes him say that long speech again.
Yeah. But either ways, I think it was a good episode. It wasn't that bad. It had its problems, but I don't really agree with all the other people out there that say it's probably one of the worst episodes, the most boring episode, or this Spider Bites is such a boring or horrible character, hope he never comes back or whatever. I don't really think it was that bad of an episode.
Oh, I didn't care too much for it.
So what would you rate this episode? Like, would you rate it as worth seeing but not worth showing a person who's new to the series, middle of the ground, which is I wouldn't kick it out of bed for eating beans, or is it epic?
I'll probably say middle ground, I guess. It might be a good way to show some people how the show's different if they're just watching a random episode or something. They don't want to watch the whole hour-long premiere or something, because it does show how the Turtles are different. It does have the flashback scene to kind of incorporate the whole Shredder Yoshi thing, I guess, but I don't know. It's not the best episode, but it's not the worst either. I don't know. It's in the middle, I would say.
So I would kind of say it's okay to watch, but it's not something that I would recommend the show to a person who's a newcomer to the series, because it might turn them off. If it was something like The Gauntlet, I would definitely say, yeah, this is an episode I could show to someone who's new to the series and show how epic this series can get.
Well, that is if the stupid pigeon doesn't turn them off in the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's true. And what about you, Paige?
I don't know. I didn't care for the episode. I only seen it twice, and I don't really care to see it anymore.
So that would be a burn the episode?
So hard.
Burn it?
Burn
it with fire?
I guess. I wouldn't care to show it for. It's like quirky, I guess, so that dialogue of frogs, but it kind of got old, like, frogs! Kung Fu frogs. It's just, I don't know, I wouldn't care to see it or show it again. Obviously, Nickelodeon doesn't care too much for it either, because they barely show it. The first time I watched it, I only caught the end of it, and never saw it again, because they never show it. The only time I got to really see the full episode was because of Mark buying the whole DVD set. That's the only time I got to actually see it, and it's just like, I don't care for it, so I guess just don't show it.
So, moving on to our next episode, we are going to look at New Enemy, New Friend, Old Enemy. I keep getting that title wrong for some reason.
Let me see. Now, if I remember, this episode basically starts out with this mysterious epic ninja guy dressed in red beating up some foot ninjas, like training. And of course, for us, it's like, ooh, yeah, because this is the first time we're actually seeing foot ninjas and everything. And I do like how the guy kind of sort of looked like the Mirage Shredder, kind of sort of, design-wise.
Without the spines on his helmet, yeah.
Although I did think it was very stupid how a foot soldier, like, had his stupid sword stuck on the ground and got beat up while he was trying to get... Come on, dude, you're a trained ninja. It should be better than that.
Yeah, I mean, we see Donnie kicking a foot ninja in the crotch in a later episode, and...
Yeah. So, I'm trying to remember, because that was like the whole like, oh yeah, then Shredder comes in and it's like, oh my god, he's in America now, and he brings Sever with him, and it's like, you must, find these enemies, these people that work with Yoshi, and of course it was kind of weird because Bradford just flat out said, what, Splinter? So we're kind of thinking, how did he know his name is Splinter now? That's a weird thing there.
Really?
Yeah, maybe they explained like that was his nickname as a a human, maybe, or back when they had been friends, he had been nicknamed Splinter.
Because I remember there was a picture. I don't know if it was that same episode or not. There was a picture of Yoshi and Saki together, like soldiers or something, kind of like arm in arm or something. So
yeah, I think
was it
during
that same
Vietnam
episode?
War. I think that was during the Vietnam War or some thereabouts.
Yeah, but was it that same episode that showed that picture? That was weird.
Yeah.
And this would be like the first time they were ever like, I guess, friends or something before they became enemies.
Yeah.
Didn't they say they were like brothers, so close? They were like brothers, and then the only reason why they kind of really split up was because of the girl, the lady.
Yeah.
That was the main wedge in their friendship that broke them up, and Shredder blames him for taking everything away.
It's so epic too because, well, you know, Splinter's always perceived. I mean, he's the good guy. He's the, I guess, you know, we could, I guess, forgive each other okay or something, but not in this version. This version, he's just as determined to kill Shredder as Shredder is to kill him.
Well, that's because Shredder took everything away from him, and so, of course, he wants to avenge his family, but we've never really seen him leave the lair, and he's also said, like, my worst fears have come true. He knows I'm alive, and worse yet, he knows about you. So we get this clear indication that Splinter is definitely afraid of facing his old friend.
Even when in the finale, I mean, it took him like inspiration from April, like saying like don't just sit in a lair and do nothing. You have to do something, and that's what actually inspired him to go out and save April.
Well, yeah, but April had to be kidnapped in order to do that, and that was like a threefold hit towards him because one, he's already lost a daughter, and he wouldn't wish that fate on another father. Two, he's already come to see April as a daughter, so it'll be like losing his daughter all over again. And three, his sons are friends with April, and on top of that, his third son has a crush on April, so that would be like losing his beloved all over again too.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot for one person to carry.
Yeah.
Let me try to remember. So after Shredder makes them work together because Chris and Sever don't like each other and everything. It's like, you will work together and everything. The Turtles, I guess they're like going out. Weren't they like just jumping from rooftop to rooftop, kind of showing off their jumping skills, something like that?
Yeah, they were patrolling and they were having fun while they were patrolling, and suddenly they hear something, so get ready to attack whoever it was, and it's a kitten.
Yep. And then, yes, Mikey picks up the little kitty cat, and he's sure that the owner will love him and everything. They'll be good friends because, you know, he saved the kitten.
It's just so random, like the cat's like all cutesy wootsy, and then suddenly it just becomes like the demon cat.
I know, that was so random. Just because the owner freaked out, the cat all of a sudden started, like, attacking him and everything.
Yeah.
I don't understand that concept right there.
Yeah, it's like, help, it's got my cat!
And then it becomes Demon Cat.
Yeah, and everyone's like, look, Mikey, no one's going to like you because you're a mute. They're not going to understand who you are. And Raph is particularly abrasive during this whole exchange.
Yeah.
He says, face it, Mikey, nobody's going to understand you. Heck, we don't even understand you.
Yeah, I like that part. But then after Mikey has to, like, yank the cat off him, it was, like, stuck on his shell and everything. Suddenly the foot ninja attack.
Well, first he sees the billboard of Chris Bradford.
Oh,
He's like,
yes,
oh,
right.
hey, yeah, he'll understand me. And Raph again said, look, there's no way Chris Bradford would want to be friends with. And then they get attacked by the foot ninja.
Yes, and of course we have to notice that Chris Bradford, I guess he's a bit of a celebrity, and he has a line of dojos, and now he's touring New York and everything.
Which we learned later are secret facilities to train foot ninja.
Yeah, I'm glad they mentioned that. The Pulverizer mentioned that's how he joined the Foot, because he also heard of Chris Bradford's dojos and stuff like that. So at least that thing didn't get, like, completely forgotten, but it does kind of get forgotten once he mutates.
Yeah, it's like, once he turns into Dog Pound, it's like no one cares. No Day 36, there has still been no word as to the whereabouts of Chris Bradford. Family is worried.
Yeah, because it's like how Sever had his episode kind of flashback a bit. They should have an episode about him flashbacking, and probably like a newspaper saying, where's Chris Bradford? Chris Bradford's still missing or something. I don't know. But yeah, so the Foot appear, and Leonardo's actually excited because they can actually fight normal people now. And I guess I was disappointed that the foot really sucked, because I know they're not supposed to be that awesome. They are kind of like the Cannon Father, but I mean, at least put up a bit more of a fight.
Yeah, like this is their first time fighting other ninjas aside from themselves.
I remember at least some of them kind of got some shots in on Raph and kicked them away, but other than that, they were just like a cakewalk.
Yeah. And then Bradford shows up. They don't know it's Bradford at the time. They just think it's just this mysterious masked ninja, and he kicks their shells, and except for Mikey, who he grabs and looks at, and he's like, "What are you?"
And then, like, I think the cops show up or something, or like you hear the sirens, so they gotta go.
Yeah, so they all scatter. They go head back to the lair, and Mikey gets like all excited about wanting to be friends with Chris Bradford, and lo and behold, we see April hanging out at the lair.
And it's like, since when did April get to the lair? Or when did they introduce her to Splinter? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, because normally, I guess maybe because the other incarnations we've always seen her get introduced to Splinter, so maybe we want to have someone else have the introduction to Splinter first, like maybe Casey or...
Yeah, because it's this random girl they rescued from a helicopter crashing or whatever, and they send her home, and then all of a sudden, boom, in the lair.
Yeah, I guess maybe Splinter allows her to be there because they feel like they could trust her. They know she won't rat them out or tell the media. But still, it seems a little random that she is hanging on the lair like as she's been hanging there all her life.
Well, I don't know. Well, she needed protection. They don't know if they were going to still hunt her down, or I don't know.
Yeah, but she was living with her Aunt Augie, as far as we know, or Aunt Aggie.
So then, they meant, Mikey wants to be friends. April mentions the internet. Don has a creepy wallpaper of April eating peaks on his computer.
I think that's supposed to be his screensaver, but...
Oh yeah, that's what you call it, screensaver, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but the way they have the files over the front of it, it kind of suggests it might be wallpaper.
Yeah, and then, this Facebook, MySpace wannabe, Mikey finds Bradford and joins him, and I like how fast it was. Like, April's like, he doesn't go that fast. He has millions of fans. Boop. Oh, or maybe it does, or something.
Yeah, I find it interesting, like, with Mikey actually saying, like, oh, you don't count as a friend, April, because we saved you.
Yeah,
so
that was kind of rude. I mean, I know it wasn't meant that way, but it was rude, dude. It's like, geez, Mike.
Yeah, wouldn't it have been better if he had said, like, you don't count, April, you're Donnie's friend. I want my own friend.
Yeah, that would have kind of...
but then they'd rather just shut her down completely.
Like, denied. It's like, I'm your friend too. You don't count. Denied.
Obviously, she didn't care too much because she never made a comeback.
I mean, like, Donnie is friends with April at this point, so wouldn't it have been more poignant for him to say, oh, you're Donnie's friend. I want to have my own human friend, you know?
But it's Mikey. He doesn't think it through.
I would have liked to see Donnie's, like, blushy reaction. He would have probably dropped whatever he was holding or something if Mikey just randomly said that.
Yeah, but, like, we see his reaction when Mikey hugs April, though.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because there was a moment where, I think after the whole friend request thing accepted, Mike real quick hugs April, and Don has this split-second shock look on his face, and then Mike, of course, like, runs off with the computer in the air. They gotta catch it before it falls breaks.
Yeah, he throws it up in the air, and he's like, wait, and then he
I do like how Don does have his own little makeshift computer. That's kind of cool.
And he also has a desktop computer, too, so...
Yeah, so he runs off and stuff, and April's like, should we be worried? And Raph's like, let him find out himself, on his own.
Yeah, so he encounters Bradford, and the first thing Bradford does when he sees him is attacks him.
I like the part with the karate stars flying at him. It's like, I'm getting attacked by Chris Bradford. This is so cool. It's like inches from his face. Commercial break. No, it's not.
Yeah, and Bradford's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm your friend. I friended you on my face. And Bradford's like, and then he smirks like, oh yes, I will use this to my advantage. And then, of course, the first thing Mikey does when he gets home is he gloats them all about how he's now friends with Chris Bradford, and that should raise some warning bells in the heads of everybody else.
Or at least, like, more curiosity. No one seemed to really, like, I don't know. They should have made a bigger deal out of it. I mean, I know Mikey was gloating, but I guess he should have been more surprised.
I guess they didn't believe him. They were like, either they just, like, didn't care, like, it's not real, or they pity they think they pity him, or they just didn't believe him.
Or they pity Chris Pratt.
I know in Don's Les Flores review, she pointed out that they should have had a bit more concern as to Mikey's naivete about being friends with Chris Bradford, because it seems like it should set off some warning bells that a human would accept a mutant turtle and a mutant ninja at that, just like out of the blue with open arms.
It would have been funny though if he was legit and it wasn't like working for Shredder. That would have been so random. Like, dudes, guess what? I met Chris Bradford. We're friends and stuff. We're gonna guest star in the next Expendables movie together. Because he is a celebrity though. That would have been weird. And they already got like a big Mikey and Chris Bradford billboard on top, recruiting new students now. I mean, that would have been like...
And even Splinter should have been more concerned about the whole situation, like his sons being friends with humans in general. I mean, April was the exception because they saved her, but anyone else like suddenly being friends with the turtles, it should have some concerns, at least on his part, because he's mistrustful about humans.
So then I'm kind of I think, doesn't like Mike gloat some more and he goes out to hang with Chris Bradford again or something?
Yeah.
That's whenever he learns that special move that Bradford has, just to get more information from Mike.
Yeah, the Death Dragon, and he says, oh, friends tell each other their secrets, and just to show we're friends, I will teach you the Death Dragon, but you have to promise not to tell anybody else that you learned this move. And, of course, the first thing he does is he shows his brothers the move.
And yet, it's so simple, even Mikey can learn it.
No, it seems simple, but it's at the same time very complex, and yet Mikey can learn it.
And then, of course, once like Splinter catches the turtles trying to do that move into there, he freaks out because it just so happens to be one of Shredder's techniques.
Yeah, and he's like, my sons, where did you learn that move? That person who taught Michelangelo that move was no friend. He is associated with the Shredder.
And of course, I think that should have gotten even a bigger reaction because what the hell? He's in New York? What? Shredder's here? You know?
Yeah, so that definitely means he knows Shredder is in town. Or at least someone associated with Shredder is in town. So it's only a matter of time that if Shredder isn't in town yet, he soon will be.
So then, when Mikey goes to hang out with him again, now we see like the ninja guy, and finally revealed that ninja guy was actually the guy with the cat.
No, he's like, you idiot, haven't you figured it out yet? And everybody at this point has realized Bradford is the masked ninja guy, and Mikey's like, you're the guy with the cat?
So then, of course, there was that moment of betrayal and sadness. Mikey was really hurt when he found out that it was all just like a trap and a game, and he was just pretending. And
yeah, I mean, what would make it even worse is like if Mikey was told to invite his brothers over, then he could say, like, I mean, yeah, he wanted to have Chris Bradford's friendship all to himself, but at the same time, maybe he would have liked to have the opportunity to share his new friend with his brothers and said, like, look, this is a human who we can relate to and learn from and whatnot, and then have the whole thing be a trap.
And it's like, oh, never mind, he wants to kill us. So Mikey's tied up, and the bad guys purposely leave because the turtles will be in there. The turtles do more of their super epic nighttime stealthy ninja action that other shows have missed out on, and they sneak in, they fight the ninjas and everything, and they rescue Michelangelo. But of course it's all a trap because Bradford and Sever both intend to follow them into the sewers to wherever they live to get to Yoshi.
Yeah, and they follow them, and we see like the turtles picking off all the foot ninja that are following with them.
I have a statement to that. Even though they're ninjas and they have to be silent and stealthy, like if you get kidnapped, why don't you just say something like scream or something to key off, like, or tell other people people are around here, be careful, I'm getting kidnapped, help. Like, don't be a ninja and not say anything, at least scream a little bit. It's like, by the end, there are no foot soldiers, like, and Bradford and Sever don't even know that they're missing all their foot soldiers. Like, geez, like, could have cued them off.
Until they reach that giant pool area, and they have maybe they're down to 2, and then they see those two foot soldiers get picked off.
But I still say that I should have done something earlier, like said something, like screamed.
Yeah, and then there's something like, they knew we were following them. Well, duh, you're on their home turf.
Yeah. I get to say that whole scene was, of course, was more awesomely done and a lot more serious, but it was a little similar to that old episode from the 80s, the Pizza by the Shred episode, where the Turtles had where Shredder had that pizza with the homing device anchovy in it, and Shredder and Vito Rocksteady and all them were following the signal into the sewers, and the Turtles were also picking away at the foot soldiers one by one, but not with ninja stealth, but by all these cool new figures and toys. Buy them in stores now, kids! I mean, I was literally telling Paige, oh my god, it's the double-barreled plunger gun. I used to have that as a kid. Oh, the retro catapult. I used to have that as a kid too. Oh, it's the sewer tubes. I had those as kids. I mean, wow.
You're showing your age.
Stop. And even like Bill Rocksteady were like, gee, I thought we brought more foot soldiers than that.
Durr.
But yeah, the scenes were kind of similar. But of course, the Nick one is a lot more serious. And I also do appreciate that even though they are having like, we have seen like the Shell Razor and stuff, I am glad they're not like shoving all their toys in your face so blatantly in this version. Even the 2003 version is guilty of that, especially with the stupid outfits. They look for any excuse out of anywhere to have them wear stupid outfits just because the toys were coming out with those outfits at that time. So I'm glad that so far this one has not really like blatantly shoved the toys in your face like.
Yeah, like Undercover Dawn, as cool as Undercover Dawn is, I'm like just having the Turtles in trench coats.
Well, yeah, but to be fair, they did that since the first 5 episodes. That was before the toys came out of that. I mean, at least that would have been justified, like the Turtles in trench coats, because in the cartoon they do appear in trench coats, but any other things...
Yeah, like having them wear varsity jackets for some random reason, or...
The Star Trek Turtles, oh my god. I'm glad that was not adapted into an episode for whatever reason. Well, anyways, the Turtles fight Chris and Bradford. Is rematch time. I do like how they're good fighters, like Sever has all fancy spin kicking moves. I think he kind of fights capoeira style. I think there's some scenes where he is doing
his fighting style. It kind of reminded me of capoeira, but I heard it's actually closer to parkour.
Wasn't parkour the art of doing like when you can jump and bounce off walls and everything?
Maybe it's a bit of both.
Yes, because I think there's some scenes where he is doing the basic like Jenga stance before he does his kicks and everything. And then, of course, Bradford's a ninja and everything, and we got to see that Mikey actually did the Death Dragon on him. That's like the perfect payback there.
Yeah, but fighting him back with his own move.
And then, of course, the Turtles, like, I guess they get flushed down the sewers or something.
Flushed out.
Yeah, they get flushed out. Yeah. And that reminds me, that's another thing, the lesson of the episode, which is kind of strange lesson. I guess it's realistic, sort of, because, well, basically the lesson was that when you're in a fight, you fight to win, not fighting fair. And Splinter said that Leonardo was saying it wasn't fair how the Foot Ninja just all ganged up to them out of nowhere instead of fighting one-on-one with the Masked Ninja. And Splinter explains that you have to fight to win, not to fight fair. And of course, in this case, the Turtles also kind of snuck in the shadows. They tricked them. They waited until they got to that right spot so they could flush them out later and stuff like that. And, well, that's the thing. In the real world, of course, if you are stuck in a fight, I mean, what can you do? If the guy's bigger than you and you're like a smaller guy or something, and let's say there happens to be a brick or something near you, I mean, it's not exactly fair, but if your life's on the line, you take that brick and you smack it up that guy's face, I mean, you gotta do what you can to survive. And of course, most other cartoons, more goody-goody ones, are always gonna say, fight fair, don't cheat, blah, 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 blah. And this one actually gives the lesson that when you're in a fight, you fight to win, not to fight fair.
I think this is supposed to be an indication of the whatever it takes mentality that the other Turtles incarnations have, because you can't expect your opponent to fight fairly. It's not like it's a sparring match. When you're in actual fight, you shouldn't look for fairness. You have to win whatever it takes.
Yeah, but the thing is, like I said, in cartoons, the good guys, the goody guys, they always gotta fight fair. If the bad guy, for whatever reason, loses his gun, the good guy, like, oh well, throws his gun to the side too, and let's fight, mano a mano. It's like, this is the first time I've ever seen this. I mean, like, if it was an anime or something, I wouldn't be surprised, but for a kid's cartoon, I'm surprised they actually, like, said that. And yes, it is a life lesson, but you know how it is in cartoons, it's like, it's always got to be super preachy, super goody, super, don't kick them when they're down and all that junk. But this is, like, it really goes into it, Like the Splinter line, I forgot if it was this episode or not, but the one about, like, as ninja, don't fight unless you mean harm. Unless you do mean harm, in that case, do lots of harm. It's like, wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's like first do no harm unless you mean to do harm, then do lots of harm, yes. I've always associated the do no harm thing with the medical practice, not the ninjutsu, because ninjas, they're trained to do infiltration, espionage, assassination, sabotage, and those involve killing and hurting people if necessary.
So it's pretty interesting how this series does have those kind of morals and that kind of thing that you won't see in other more preachy or more happier cartoons, It like reminds me, I don't know, it's like the 2003 cartoon when Leonardo cut off Shredder's head. Of course, we know that it didn't kill him because it's a little, the Utrons inside the robot body. Of course, they're okay with that. No one said, like, dude, you just cut off his head, what the hell? No one said nothing. They just, Shredder's defeated, let's go home. No one made a big, shocking...
But we've seen them kill people kind of off screen, like for example during the Triceraton invasion, there's like one part where Mikey is fighting a Triceraton soldier and then he pulls the pin off one of the grenades that around the soldier's waist or bandolier or whatever, and he says, "Is this like a real grenade?" And then you see him walk off screen and onto the screen, and there's like a boom off screen.
Was that versus like normal soldiers or Triceraton soldier?
That was a Triceraton soldier, but we've seen it's kind of been hinted they kill humans off screen too, but as long as the deaths occur off screen, it's okay.
Yeah, or hinted or whatever.
Yeah, like how it's kind of like implied that the Shredder kills the foot soldiers for their failure.
Well, yeah, it was a pretty interesting episode, and of course, I almost forgot, the important thing was at the end of the episode, when everything's all good and calm, Raphael has a little talk with Mikey, saying that that he's a good guy and everything, and anyone would be lucky to be his friend and stuff like that. So it shows that Raphael really does care for Mikey deep down, no matter how rude he is and everything.
Such a sweet moment.
I still like that. If you told anyone else I said this, I'll beat the green off you.
Yeah, as much as Raph is a jerk, deep down he really does care. And
yes, because that's one of the things in the Mirage comics too. He would always argue or whatever with Mike, but if Mike went down or if Leo went down, Raph would always be like the first one to freak out. But yeah, that's the basic lesson. And of course, at the end, Michelangelo unfriends him.
Splinter warns his sons that this is just the beginning. There is the fact that these people even worked for the Shredder, even indicates that the Shredder knows he's alive, and so they shouldn't assume the whole thing is over just yet.
But again, Shredder shows off all his blindness to the rage and everything, because it's like he wants to kill the turtles and stop Yoshi and etc., and he never really stops to think what the hell, these big walking turtles, human-sized turtles that fight in martial arts, and they fight like the Yoshi fighting style. It's like, what the hell, He just treat them as if they were any ordinary people.
It's like, oh, yeah, I'm fighting mutants. I'm not going to look into this. I don't care. I just am too interested in killing Yoshi.
And it's like, Karai does bring up the point, but I like the part when they're fighting against Snakeweed. She also kind of oh well, giant plant, not my problem, bye. It's also kind of weird, and at least in that sense, she also kind of shrugged it off a little. She got more freaked out by the Krang being alien robots than the giant plant monster thing.
It's like Shredder only cares when he actually sees it himself, and even then it's like, oh, how can I use this to implement my plans?
Exactly. And that was the one thing that was stupid in the finale when he gave April to the Krang. I mean, what would he have done if he did kill Splinter or blah blah, and then he walks outside and sees like everything taken over by Krang now and everyone kidnapped and captured. He wouldn't even have a city anymore to take over. It's all like empty.
Too.
I know. It's like
too.
It's like, geez.
Maybe he might assume that since he's allied with the Krang so far, that he would actually think that he's the exception. But I doubt it. Both groups were pretty much set up to betray each other when the moment was right.
I do like the Japanese phrases, though. I forgot, because I don't know that much Japanese, but I forgot what Shredder said when the spaceship was about to smack into him in one of the episodes. He did yell out some kind of Japanese whatever.
It said something like Anamiwa or something like that.
Yeah, but the one I know, because I know what that one, when Splinter saw the Mousers entering the lair in the finale, he was like, "Nani?" and something, which of course means what? So I was interesting. I was like, hey, I actually know that one, but that's interesting.
And Honto? Yeah. Like, what's this?
But I do like how you throw that stuff, because technically speaking, I mean, they're supposed to be Japanese, they're supposed to have some phrases. That's why I was surprised in the 80s cartoon one episode, the first episode when it became an actual series now, Splinter was saying, like, but Turtles, how come you're not practicing your morning katas? And I was like, wow, I did not remember them ever using the phrase kata ever in the old show, but I guess they did. So I think right now, I think it's a good time to give our, like, thoughts, opinions, like, how we rate this episode. You should probably go first.
Okay, well, I would definitely rate it a, not quite epic. I would say it's good, or, it's worth watching. It's not epic, but not so bad I want to burn the episode with fire. It does have its flawed moments, like, as we have gone into. It has some moments where maybe they would have expanded on, or they should have expanded on, and if the episode could have been longer, or they could have stretched out to 2 or 3 episodes, maybe it would have fleshed out the relationship between Mikey and Bradford and whatnot. But for what was there, it was pretty good, but it wasn't epic.
Well, my thoughts, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I wouldn't say one of the bad episodes, obviously. I mean, it wasn't exactly epic, but it was still a good episode. It's the first time we saw the foot, even though I was disappointed that they were basically cakewalks. Because usually they do put up a decent fight on their first outing, and then in the next episodes, they're, of course, cakewalk. It's like, we've seen them before, they're cannon fodder, whatever. But I was surprised they didn't put up much of a fight in their first appearance. And I guess it just shows you how weird and unpredictable the Nickelodeon show is, the way they do things, because just like how the last episode, we don't expect an episode of the Turtles having to try to take away a cell phone from a random fat dude that happened to randomly catch them on film. You don't expect to see, like, you read the TV guide listing, Turtles must get phone back from random fat dude. I mean, it's weird. So you don't expect the first episode of them encountering the foot in any way is about Michelangelo friending a guy on Facebook that happens to be working with the Shredder. It's just a weird way. And even though, like, Chris is the main draw to the episode, they introduced Sever as well. I mean, it could have been just him, but no, they're also bringing this other dude with knife skills and fancy footwork, and like they kind of hate each other, and they're forced to work together because Shredder says so. It's just it's like, it's random the way that they make these episodes. It's kind of like the Gauntlet episode when you hear this is the episode where the Turtles finally fight the Shredder. Oh my god, you don't expect it to start out with a mutant pigeon acting goofy.
Yeah.
I mean, even the commercials only showed the pigeon and the jokes about, like, get me some dough. You mean bread? Yeah, or something like that. And it's like, I was even thinking, wasn't this supposed to be the week where they fight the Shredder? Why is the episode about a pigeon? Until I saw the episode, both things are in the same episode. But it's like they do it so strangely and unpredictably, how you do that.
Yeah, that's one problem with having multiple writers, because, like, you would think the writers would cooperate a bit more, or collaborate their ideas a bit more, because sometimes it seems like situations that were in one episode are forgotten the next, and they aren't brought up until, like, so-and-so's back to writing again.
Yeah, that's right. But still, like, the way they work out, it is unpredictable. I would never expect, like, the first episode they encounter the foot would be an episode about Michelangelo meeting a friend on Facebook, wannabe and everything. But of course, this episode does bring out the thing we mentioned about Michelangelo before, about how he just wants friends, and he wants to have, more people, and he's like the most human-like of the turtles. I mean, the other turtles, I guess they accept their role in this world. I guess maybe Donnie's more content because he has April, or trying to get April. But the other turtles, they they accept the fact that they're mutant turtles and humans will understand. Michelangelo doesn't really see that and just wants to be friends anyways. Let's have friends. Let's have people. I'm sure this guy will like me because I saved his cat.
Well, if you think about it, he's the only person without any friends. I mean, Leo and Raph have their companionship. Donnie has his budding companionship with April, and Mikey has nobody.
Yeah, I do get it. He's not really paired up too much with... I guess he kind of sort of gets paired with Don a couple of times, but yeah, it is. He doesn't really have a particular turtle that he pairs up with.
And I think Splinter said it best in like one of the recent IDW comics, where he says, in a world as cynical and as jaded as this one, Michelangelo's optimism should be celebrated, not discouraged.
Yeah, that's true. Even in the IDW comics, he was friends with this random pizza delivery guy for a while.
Yeah, Woody, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, what do you think of the episode, Paige? How would you rate it?
I don't know what to rate it either, because I don't care for the episode again. It's the most, on Nickelodeon, it's the most repeated episode, so that has been ran its course.
That and the Polarizer Returns, I guess, right?
Well, actually, the Metalhead episode's been rerun like a gazillion times.
Yeah, Metalhead and this episode's been repeated a lot. But it was obviously better than a Spider episode, but
yeah,
it was okay, I guess.
So you wouldn't kick it out of bed for eating beans?
Huh?
You wouldn't kick it out of bed for eating beans?
That's one for ratings. The medium one is you wouldn't kick it out of bed for eating beans.
Sure.
You should name them off one more time. The ratings you have from high to low.
Okay, so the highest is epic awesomeness. Second highest is good story. Middle ground is I wouldn't kick it out of bed for eating beans, but I wouldn't recommend it to a newcomer.
I would still recommend it. Because it has it has references, Shredder, incoming of foot soldiers, stuff like that. But I would recommend it. It's been too overplayed by Nickelodeon. That every single time I try to watch a repeat of like the episode I didn't see, I couldn't. It's always stupid Metalhead or freaking this episode. So I never really got a chance of seeing any of the episodes because I repeated this one too many times. But it'd be like one of those episodes where like here's the introduction of the Sever, Bradford, the Foot Soldiers, and Shredder, I guess.
Considering this is like supposed to be the real episode 3, not Turtle Temper.
Well, where would you place Turtle Temper if it was more in order?
Chronologically, I'd say that would be like episode 5, 6 or something, because like I remember there was like that person on the Technodrome forum who listed what they believed the episodes would be like chronologically, and the list he or she had was Rise of the Turtles, followed by New Friend, Old Enemy, and followed by Metalhead, which was followed by, I think his name is Baxter Stockman, and then it was Turtle Temper.
Well, the weirdest thing also was that other episode, I think the Sever episode, seems to take place a little, like, right after this one, which makes no sense, because there are several other episodes in between.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm not sure what other things we could say in this episode. I'm not sure there's any other big Turtle news, except for things you might have already known about the live-action movie having the Turtle Van in it now. I don't know if we said the last episode or not.
And Whoopi Goldberg being Bernadette Thompson.
Oh my god, I don't know what they're thinking. But yeah, we still have to see how that movie turns out. But yes, but right now we've been kind of called away to something, so we're gonna have to head out. I'm not sure there's any other thing you want to say to wrap this up for this particular episode, Venka?
Nope. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time when we talk about, I think his name is Baxter Stockman, and Metalhead. This is Venka Faye, the Lavender Ninja, checking out.
Paige the Pink Ninja. See ya.
And Mark, the Ninja in Orange, that is now about to do his vanishing act.
Boom.
So keep on watching, guys, and just stay tuned, because September Season 2 is going to start. I am surprised that it's that quick.